So we have.
We have a couple more people that may filter in. Okay. I need a.
What are you hearing?
It's like we're going to start now and then we'll get going. Okay. This weekend and this past week across our country, the pain of the communities of color has just been pouring out, and we feel and recognize that pain as a city. Over this weekend, there were multiple demonstrations that were here in the city of Lancaster, and more than 1,000 people in attendance for each one. It was largely peaceful. I was there. I heard and I saw the moments that were not peaceful. We are going to be undertaking a review, and we were going to be spending time reviewing a lot of body camera footage, a lot of interviews and conversations with folks. That is not why I'm here this morning to talk about those things, although I will be addressing the concerns from the community over the coming days. Why I'm here this morning is that there are ongoing organizing efforts to have further demonstrations downtown, including one this morning at 11 a.m. Today, in the interest of public safety, I want to share with Chief Berkihiser the numerous credible threats that we have about people who are not from the city of Lancaster, who are coming into this city to incite violence. And I am very concerned and worried about the peaceful demonstrators that were downtown over the weekend, and especially our young people who showed up in just incredible ways over the weekend and their safety. And so I'm going to ask Chief Berkihiser to share a little bit about what we saw yesterday in particular. There are other members of City Council here, members of the Community Police Working Group that were there yesterday, and we have seen for our own eyes, with our own eyes, the agitators that were in the crowd. And we have confirmation, and now I'd like for Chief Berkihiser to share with you what we know.
So the first thing I want to talk about is, like the mayor had mentioned, we're all feeling different emotions and a lot of pain, including our police officers, families. They're extremely worried for their loved ones. And like the mayor said, these demonstrations were largely peaceful. We've made 7 arrests throughout the entire weekend. One Saturday night, later Saturday night at about 8:45, and then 6 yesterday. For different offenses. The ones that were arrested yesterday, right now, their charges are low-level misdemeanors, and all were processed and released last night. As we were dealing with yesterday, we had partners here from Pennsylvania State Police that were assisting with us and basically in a standby position. But through the information that we had, we knew we had armed individuals within the crowd, individuals wearing body armor within the crowd that also had guns on their hips that we were concerned about. We also saw definite evidence that we believe white nationals were here, white nationalist groups were here. Anytime my officers were pelted with rocks or water bottles filled with cayenne pepper, it was coming from Caucasian individuals within the crowd. We are continuing to follow up on those threats. We're also continuing with our state police partners and our FBI partners and trying to identify some of these individuals that we saw in the crowd, because we do have photographs and video of them. Some of the credible threats that we were dealing with yesterday were threats to burn down our police station, threats to burn down Lancaster County Courthouse, and additional retail establishments. There were threats against retail establishments throughout Lancaster County. We're continuing to follow up on those threats, even though there was a time given last night of when that stuff was supposed to happen. Obviously, that time has passed, but we're concerned because of the activity that we saw in the crowd, that individuals were definitely scouting our location of the police station and surrounding area for possible future damage. And that's what we're following up on today, and we're going to continue to follow up on in the days ahead. We do not want further confrontation with our police officers during a peaceful demonstration. That's not what we want. If you have to demonstrate, we're asking you to stay out of the street, remain on the sidewalks. We don't want demonstrators coming into contact with motorists on the street, because now that we know we have outside groups here, I'm concerned for demonstrators being hit by cars. It's been happening throughout the country and other cities. And I'm definitely concerned, because most of the individuals that are coming out to demonstrate and peacefully demonstrate are from the city of Lancaster. And they're just here because they're concerned about their city. They're worried about their people in the city, and so are we. So we're just asking you to stay off the street. If you have to demonstrate, if you feel you have to demonstrate, stay to the sidewalks. And we're not going to have any problems. We're not going to have any issues with you. Our main concern right now are the agitators that are coming into the city and definitely trying to instigate additional violence between the crowd and police officers. That's our biggest concern right now.
So I think the message that we want to convey this morning is to stay home. We do not want to create, to have the kind of ingredients that will continue to invite opportunity by people who are so filled with hate and want to destroy our community, who are not putting in, who are not part of moving forward in developing a stronger, safer community and elevating, in particular, our communities of color and their voices. I am very, very concerned. We had, again, so many young people. At one point, I was standing on a curb and there were 4 beautiful little faces that were right in front of me. Nothing can happen to them. Nothing. we have to be super vigilant. And I'm asking the public, I'm asking the parents to please, please, please do not bring your children downtown. And to the young people, there were just an incredible number of young people, high school students, young college students who are striving for change. They cannot be hurt by people who are coming into our city to tear us apart. So this is my message. I need you all to stay home. We need to make sure that these individuals who are trying to incite violence, who are bringing guns to peaceful protests, who are scouting and clearly organizing, that they do not have the recipe that they need to incite violence in Lancaster City. I'd like to invite Council President Smith-Waddell to the podium to also share a few words. I also just want to thank Councilor Smith-Waddell, Garcia-Molina, and Bakay, as well as City Treasurer Reichenbach for their extraordinary efforts yesterday. It was a team effort between our police department and City Council and so many members of the clergy, the Community Police Working Group, to maintain a peaceful protest yesterday. And I can't thank them enough for their efforts. So, Council President.
In the history of civil rights protest in the United States of America, a common refrain has been the cry, "Whose streets? Our streets." And what that means is that the streets of any given community, indeed this one, belong to the people that live and work and survive and thrive here. Yesterday and the day before, we saw thousands of Lancastrians come to represent a desire for progressive change. They want to move the narrative and the conversation forward. They want safer and more just communities. But when we say our streets, we also specifically mean that these streets do not belong to external white nationalists who come armed to our protest, looking to incite violence and conflict. These are not people who simply want to advance the interests of the protest in a more aggressive way. These are people who are looking to bring harm to Black and brown bodies. And those people are not welcome in our city. And so we need them specifically to move on. And we need all of our young Black and brown people who have those Black and brown bodies to be extra careful today and stay home if they can. I was with the mayor and other members of council, City Treasurer Reichenbach, and just people from the street locked arms yesterday, trying to keep our young people safe. We are hurting, and we know and we feel very explicitly the need for change. And we also feel very, very explicitly the need to protect those members of our most vulnerable communities who came out yesterday. If I can address any young people who might be watching specifically, I grew up here. I have been exactly where you are, and I just need you to be as careful as possible. I need you to stay home if you can and stay safe so that you can stay in the fight, because we need you. Finally, I want to address the Community Police Working Group, which is a diverse group of leaders, stakeholders, and community members who have been working tirelessly to move the conversation with police in our community forward. And specifically, Councilor Garcia-Molina, the chair of Council's Public Safety Committee, who was also out there with us last night, who already in his short term on council has brought forward ideas and initiatives and really dug his hands in to make change. And that's what we need, the kind of people who are going to show up tomorrow and the next day. So with your permission, Mayor, I would like to invite Councilor Garcia-Molina to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Xavier Garcia-Molina. I just recently got elected to council, where I'm the public safety chair. For the past 2 days, I've been a part of the demonstrations. I walked every block. I've stood in line, and along my colleagues, the mayor, council members, we linked arms to protect the community, the Black and brown community and specifically. We are out here because George Floyd was murdered. We don't deny that. We actually are recognizing that. But right now, the problem that I have is that this movement that is meant to be for Black and brown people and is a call for white people to stand up in allyship is being deterred in violent ways by white nationalists. We have children here whose parents, rightfully so, want them to be a part of this change because this movement is not going away. So when we are up here asking you to stay home, it is not our intention at all to silence you. Black and brown people have been silenced enough. Revolutions have been silenced, and we are in a moment of a revolution, a movement that will not change. But as a brown person, what I recognize and what I want to let you know is that our lives need to be safe because the revolution is also for tomorrow. So when white nationalists are here, throwing water bottles full of cayenne pepper to the police to instigate something, and then the Black and brown people are the ones who have to protect our own, to de-escalate our own people, while they back up, go away, and then loop around the block a couple times once we de-escalate everything to come back and do it again. That's just not right. You do not understand the purpose of why we're here. We are here because Black and brown lives have always been at risk, and we are tired. I personally am physically and emotionally tired. And we need your help. And right now, like I need rest, rest up, stay home. Let's figure out how to address white nationalists that are trying to deter our movement. And from there, we can regather, and from there, we can make sure that our children were safe. Because last night, we were there on the front lines until about midnight. And until about midnight, there were multiple children under the ages of 14 there, on the front lines as well. So, to any person watching this, please stay home. Not because your movement is not important, not because your struggles are not important, but because your life is also important. And tomorrow, together with our team, we will build a message, we will build ways for you to continue to peacefully protest, because that is not what we're trying to stop at all. Thank you.
I just ask if there are members of the Community Police Working Group. We have Reverend Forbes and Delia Sanchez if they want to address the audience in any way. We'll take a few minutes for questions, but I know that it's a little bit before 11, and I'm just going to release Chief Berkihiser because we have a lot of things that are happening around the police station as it relates to construction and all the rest of it. And so we will come back and answer questions over this weekend, and we will do that. Today's message is about today and tomorrow and the coming days of this week, and making sure that our community is safe and not taken advantage by people who are here only to sow evil and not to be helpful in moving a very important conversation forward. Delia.
Good morning. I am a legal advocate for victims of domestic violence. I also sit on the Community Police Working Force, or Working Group. I want to start by mentioning the names: George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, and the many other victims of the senseless violence that's going on in the United States today. We feel your pain. We see your pain. It's a very difficult time to be an American in this country when you're not being heard. Many say that all lives matter, but that statement is not true. It will not ring true until all lives matter. And that means Black lives as well. And we need to take a stand, and we understand why you're protesting. We also know that we are being sabotaged. And you need to take that into consideration, and also understand that during these protests, when they come in, they sabotage these protests, we can lose other Black lives. And we need to pay attention to what's happening. So I'm also asking here to let you know that we are making a difference with the Community Police Working Group. We're here to affect policy changes and making sure that your voices are also being heard. So if you really want to there's a movement that has begun, and if you really want to continue this movement, you have to do it within the realms that are available to you. So please start coming out and expressing yourselves and taking part of these city council meetings, any forums that are available to you. Take the positions in the boards that are available to you, and please start making a difference. That's how we make movements. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Pastor Roland Forbes, pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Part of my experience over this weekend has been experiencing the tragedy of what we are confronted with. I believe we are at a tipping point in our city, in our state, and in our country. Having to counsel many of these young people, I can express to you their fear. Not only are they fearful for their life in terms of what can happen, but they're also fearful of where we are going with this next step. Being a part of this particular city, being a part of this particular community police board gives me hope. And I try to convey that hope all the time. Some great progress has been made. Some other progress is in the plans to be made. We got to learn how to communicate one with another. I shared with a group of young people yesterday that as a pastor in this city, that I do not want to have to bury any more sons or any more daughters. I don't want to have to stand in between those that seek to create a violent atmosphere and those that just desire change. Change is tough. We must be able to think this way clearly, and we must act in a unified manner. We must come together. The police are part of this community. Our mayor is part of this community. We are all part of this together. And it's only when we work together as one that we shall be able to accomplish that which we set forth to accomplish. And so we ask those in particular, I'm begging that you would leave the children home. If you have to come out, please leave children home. We saw groups running yesterday. I had actually left for a moment to attend a graduation and birthday party for my niece who graduated from Manheim Township High School, and got an immediate phone call again that things were breaking out. We shouldn't have to do that. We should not have to intervene and stand between the violence and those that are simply trying to allow their voices to be heard. One of the great pleasures of yesterday, if there was a pleasure, was that as I arrived and began to try to quell the situation, there was a group of young people, African-American, Hispanic, Caucasian, some Jewish brothers who locked arms, and they kept yelling, they kept shouting, "Don't feed the hate." If there's a theme that's going to resonate during these times, again, don't feed the hate. I'll say it again. Don't feed the hate.
Okay, that is our message for the day. We are continuing to obviously review footage. I will say that the public has been extraordinarily helpful with pictures, other video. We observed what was happening yesterday. We were taking pictures as well. I know the Pennsylvania State Police are actively working to identify the people that were on the scene. All help, anything that people observed. I just can't underscore how incredibly stressful holding all of that yesterday was, to keep everyone safe, knowing that there were people in the crowd with guns and that there were children there. And how do we mitigate and manage that? And we did that as a community. And last night ended peacefully. And that was just an incredible labor of love from this community to make sure that last night ended and people got home safely. And I am forever grateful for all of those and the communication between the police department and myself and members of this community to hold it down, because there were definitely, it was just incredible. Jeff.
Were you not to be present Saturday?
Not to our knowledge, not in the way that they were in the crowd yesterday. I'm not naive enough to think that they were not, but just given the nature of the protest and the way that people were walking and moving through the city very peacefully, our police were just creating safe passage, staying out of the way. No, but I think that, and I'm speculating now. They saw that crowd, and they knew that there was another protest that was going to happen yesterday, and they are seizing opportunities to show up and take advantage. And we do not want them here. They do not deserve to be here. They are not part of our community. They are not part of the values that this city stands for. I don't know. It was estimates we had on the ground were between 5 and 15, but we are still gathering that information. I do not know. Yes. 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 Chief Berkihiser addressed that in his remarks. It was visual identification that people were carrying sidearms, and we saw that as well. And I don't know how many guns.
And what do you think that they are white
From the reports that we have coming from around the state, and the fact that we had Pennsylvania State Police officers that were on site that have been tracking and monitoring these movements and are working with us to identify these people.
And these individuals they're doing specific things that others would not. Like violence.
Yes, the question is, I've been asked to repeat the questions, and now I'm just remembering. These people were specifically observed doing things to incite violence. They were observed doing things like throwing things at our police, which is not what you do at a peaceful demonstration. They were observed meeting, having checkpoints on their phones, tracking people, standing next to crowds, standing near me, and others. I'm just looking over other people saw other things than I did, but there was clearly an organized group of people that were not there for the cause that brought so many people safely together to peacefully demonstrate. These were all white men. I don't know, you guys.
I would say probably my age of 25 to over. And what time did they arrive?
What time did they arrive? I have no idea, Jeff.
All day. Was things started early? Was the
We don't know. We're going through just hours upon hours of video footage. Again, there were photographers on the scene, reporters, some from your news organizations that are helping us with footage that they have, photographs that were taken. All of this is being put into a system that the Pennsylvania State Police have to identify. And this is where I'm also going out of my lane because I am not involved in the details of that investigation that's happening statewide. Yes, the question was, something was planned for today. Yes, the group of young people that were put together and a very peaceful protest on Saturday have called for continued protests, demonstrations downtown every day at 11. And we're responding today, and why we call this press conference at 10:30 is because we need your help to communicate to the public that we need people to stay home. And this is, again, as Councilor Garcia-Molina mentioned, this is not about silencing the movement. This is about public safety and keeping people safe. We cannot let them win. We cannot let them incite violence in our community. I don't know if anybody else has any final comments that they want to make. We will reconvene, as I mentioned, to answer more questions about the things that happened over the weekend. I can just say that right now, our team is working diligently today to focus on safety and to create just as much communication and conversation as we can in the midst of COVID, I might add, which is just, adding just more challenges to our ability to really be out and in the community and talking to people. And so we're just going to be on the phones today talking and, trying. I do want to mention that tomorrow there, what time is the... Yes, there will be a town hall that City Council is organizing that is a virtual town hall for us to be able to gather, and that will be another opportunity that's already scheduled. And I imagine that we're working on some other things right now with the Community Police Working Group, and we'll be able to get back to you. So that's all that I have for now. I really appreciate your help. Please stay home. Please stay safe. This has gone from my message to please stay home and please stay safe because of COVID to a level that it makes my heart hurt. Thank you all.